Hey guys, thanks for checking out my video. It's time for 326, the Champion Frostblades build guide. I'm also going to have a Warden build guide that's going to be in the description. This one's going to be focused on Champion though. I'm going to try the new Champion. The POBs are going to be in the description, and so if that's all you want, you can go down there and get them, and good luck, have fun in 326. If you want a little more though, stick around. I'm going to talk about some of the important stuff. Like I said, this is going to be Champion focused. The Warden build is going to be very, very similar with only a few differences. So what changed in 326? Frostblades got a 30% less projectile damage nerf that is mostly irrelevant, and I'll talk more about why that is in just a minute. The res inversion mastery got nerfed down to 15%, so that was a little bit of a damage loss. That didn't matter for the Warden. It's not going to be that important for the Champion either. The instant leech mastery also got nerfed, which only matters for the Warden also. The Champion's probably not going to take that mastery. The Champion got buffed massively. It's going to get permanent maximum fortify now instead of just 15 fortify. We're also going to get the cannot evade increased damage taken worthy foe node for only 2 points instead of 4 points. And then another buff to increased armor and evasion and attack speed from extra fortify over 20. We're also getting mercenaries, which are going to give us tons and tons of power and utility with auras and curses and charges and increased damage taken and penetration maybe and all kinds of stuff. So that kind of remains to be seen still. There's also, they just put out that there's a new cold mastery that's going to give you +1 to level of cold gems. This might be better to take this instead of the cold conversion, which you could then get on the gloves instead, and this would allow you to be like not quite 100% cold converted, which would allow for bleeding, so that you don't have to rely on some other source to bleed to take advantage of the crit bleed wheel. Anyway, this is how Frostblades works. A lot of people have asked me how bad the nerf was because they don't understand the skill. This is how the skill works. When you attack a target, you are hitting it with your melee strike component. Only the melee strike. The projectiles shoot out, the icy blades shoot out behind the target. You are not actually hitting your target with projectiles unless you have a source of returning projectiles and big investment in proj speed, which this build is not going to do that. So this is basically melee only for single target at least, and that's why we can use multi-strike and close combat and ruthless, because those gems are melee only. Those gems don't do anything for the projectiles, and so that's how the skill works. Projectiles don't really matter, basically. That's the TLDR there. Projectiles only matter for clear, which is always going to be good. So here's some tips for how to get through the campaign. You don't have to level with Frostblades, although you can all the way from level 1. That's what I like to do, just to keep it simple and reduce swapping, but you can level with Explosive Concoction or Spectral Throw or Sunder or whatever you want. Disclaimer, if you've never leveled with Frostblades before, or if you're new to the game, Frostblades is not very strong early. I'm talking Act 1, Act 2, into Act 3. It's not very fun sometimes if you don't know what you're doing and if you've never practiced. So if you don't like that idea, then use Explosive Concoction or something else. You don't have to use Frostblades. But after Act 3, the build starts to take off and ramp, and it gets really fast. So just stick with it, grit your teeth, or just level with something else. Use whatever weapon you can in the beginning. You don't have to use any specific type of weapon, at least very early. So you can use a two-handed weapon, are very good early, axe, sword. You can use a claw, a dagger, a one-hander, whatever. Whatever has the most damage. So in Act 1, you start with Ancestral Call and Ruthless right after Tidal Island. And then use Ancestral Call only until you get +1 strike from Gladiator's Perseverance, and then swap it out for Ruthless. And then you can add in faster attacks for your 3-link, and I'll show you what that looks like in the tree here. So it's this node right here. Gladiator's Perseverance, rush this, get your strike, and then you drop Ancestral Call. You don't need to use it anymore. And then get Frostblade or Frost Blink when you can. You're going to need a little bit of int for this. Get Decoy Totem, which is helpful for Brutus, and then get Leap Slam and faster attacks whenever you can. If you're using a sword or a claw, a one-handed sword that is, you can use Whirling Blades. Try to get movement speed if you can, Iron Rings, and nicer flasks will make Brutus a little less painful. In Act 2, you get Herald of Ice, Blood Rage, Poacher's Mark. Those help a lot. And then change out your faster attacks to close combat and put the faster attacks on your Leap Slam if you haven't done that yet. Here's what your gems should look like in Act 2. Any combination of damage gems is fine at this stage, so just use whichever colors that you have a 3-link for. In Act 3, you add in Anger, and then this is almost the last gem that you have until you swap to Crit and get rid of Precise Technique. You can basically finish the whole campaign with these gems right here. So, yeah, that's all you need. In Act 4, you get Multi-Strike, so add that in, and then also add in Trinity if you haven't yet. And make sure your Trinity's proccing. If it's not proccing, it's because you have too much of one type of damage, probably cold damage. You're going to want to prioritize Fire as your second type of damage, especially on Warden, because Warden uses Scorch. So if you don't understand how Trinity works, I have a video all about Trinity that I'll link down below. You can go check that out if you have questions about Trinity. First lab, I think Champion, it's best to take the Adrenaline node. It's called First to Strike, Last to Fall. And you can easily keep Adrenaline up all the time with a Corrupting Fever setup. You can use it in your main links or your weapon swap. Make sure you don't over level the gem. It only needs to bring you just under 50%. If it's taking you down to anything less than that, it's just wasted basically. So here's a demonstration on how that works. I'm going to show you. Corrupting Fever is how you can keep Adrenaline up. This node right here. Adrenaline gives you 100% damage, 25 attack and movement speed, and some PDR too. So all you have to do is be brought to low life. It procs as soon as you get to low life, and the way you can do that is with a Corrupting Fever gem linked to a life tap. And all you have to do is press it, and bam, your Adrenaline procs, and it stays up for 20 seconds. And then you will heal for 25% of that life. So if you have it tuned to the right level, you will be at 75% HP after it's over, and then you can just press a life flask, or you can start leeching if you're doing it in combat, and then as soon as it's off, you can press the button again, and bam, it's back up again. So you just have to press this button once every 20 seconds to keep this buff up all the time. If you want, you can put it on a weapon swap, and then if you don't have the gems late game, you're probably not going to want to use it in your main links because you're just going to be too gem socket starved. But all you're going to have to do is weapon swap, press the button, and then weapon swap back. So that's going to be like 3 buttons, I guess, instead of 1. But that's how you do it. It's very, very powerful. You don't have to change much in the campaign until Act 8 or 10 on Champion is probably when you're going to want to start going crit. Warden wants to go crit much earlier because you need to enable Scorching. Make sure if you're using Precise Technique that you keep an eye on your accuracy. Because Precise Technique, you need to have more accuracy than life for this to work. So keep an eye on that. If you have too much life, you can just get rid of it, or you can add a couple accuracy nodes. It's up to you. Once you go crit, you're going to change out Poacher's Mark for Assassin's Mark, and then add Flesh and Stone whenever you want, really. You're going to want to take the Mana Reservation wheel over here to do that. So whenever you feel like adding Flesh and Stone, you can take this and add it in. It's up to your preference. The tree is very flexible, so don't feel like you must take exactly what the POB says. You can kind of pick and choose which parts of it you want to add whenever you want. Axe and sword. This build is not going to use claw. It's going to use an axe or a sword. You can kind of choose which one you want. They each have their own advantages. Axe gets early access to onslaught and rage on hit, which is this stuff down here. This wheel right here will give you onslaught on kill and rage on hit, which is very, very strong early. And then the Champion version also doesn't really have to use VLS to shock stack the way that Warden needs it, or for rage, because it's going to get it from axes. So I think axes are the best choice. You don't get to use whirling blades though. You have to use leap slam. The only downside to axes is that it loses the ability to generate frenzy charges on a single target. So that's going to be one of the biggest things we'll look for mercenaries to solve, is frenzy charge generation. If you go sword though, you can take the frenzy generation mastery right here, 8% chance on hit from here. Or if you really, really feel it's necessary, you can path all the way up to this mark mastery and get it here, and then get leech here too. Although I don't really recommend that. Also, I really don't recommend this mark mastery here. I think this mark mastery is completely not worth it. So yeah, swords get frenzy charge generation, but they lack rage generation. So if you go sword, you're going to have to get rage on hit on a lethal pride, especially on champion. Warden can use VLS to get rage, but yeah, champion can use VLS too, especially to proc the bleed wheel, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. Here's all the defensive layers that we're going to get on champion. We're going to get 26 permanent fortify stacks. We're going to have 4 endurance charges, which we can keep up all the time with enduring cry, and we'll just have them on kill. So that's 12% PDR. And then Flesh and Stone is going to give us another 20% less damage taken on top of the 26 from Fortify. We're going to be spell suppressed capped. We're going to have like 20k armor and evasion, so we're going to have good PDR. We're going to have a decent chance to evade. On top of that evasion, we're going to have block cap, 75 block. We're going to have a little bit of fizz taken as Ellie on the chest and helm before you get heat shiver. And then we're going to be completely immune to ailments. We're going to have Molten Shell as another defensive guard skill. We're going to cap our Chaos Res. There's options to get stun immunity from a Tattoo and Flask or from Unwavering Stance. We're going to have pretty decent recovery from Leech and Regen. And then we're going to have Screen-Wide Freeze, which is one of the most powerful defensive layers in the whole game. And then also the Mercenaries are going to give us tons of other options like Sap maybe, alternate ailment stuff, and who knows what other type of stuff. All right, day 1 POB. I'm going to go into the day 1 POB and talk about it a little bit. If you download the POB, there's going to be different loadouts up here in the top. If you come to day 1, this is a level 85 setup. There's a week 1 level 95 setup, and then there's a level 95 setup with Heat Shiver. There's one with and without Heat Shiver. The build changes a bit when you get Heat Shiver. And then there's a level 100 high budget setup. So starting with the day 1 setup on the gems, there's this has 600k damage on a 4-link with level 19 gems with 0 quality. All the gems are 19 0 quality except for Assassin's Mark. You need to put quality on your Assassin's Mark ASAP because that's how you get power charges. And then on the gear, this is just like 3 mod crappy gear. This axe on the day 1 build here is like tier 5 and tier 6 damage with, you can see how bad it is. And then the rest of the gear is like 2 mod gear with like practically nothing on it. This is just life, little bit of damage, defenses, life, int, block, chaos res. I didn't put any elemental resistance on this gear. I put that in the custom configs here. I didn't bother with it because just get resist, guys. Just get resist on your gear. And so this gear is very, very bad. And then as you ramp toward the week 1 version, your gear is going to get better. You're going to start adding in more of the components of the build, which I'll go into a little bit more in a minute. And then you're going to get gem quality. You're going to get better gear. You're going to get Fury Valve. You're going to get Taming. You're going to get Heat Shiver once you have Heat Shiver. And the build is just going to ramp and ramp and ramp. And by like Ultra Endgame, you can easily get up to 40 million damage plus, way higher than that actually with investment. And what else on the POB? Yeah, that's the day 1 POB. There's leveling trees in here too. If you come to the passive tree part, there is a leveling progression here that you can follow through Act 1 all the way through Act 10. You don't have to follow this exactly. This is just kind of like a loose guideline that you can use. But this should get you through the campaign pretty easily. For the week 1 version, this is the stuff you need to be going for in the first week. You want to get a 6-link, Heat Shiver, a Lethal Pride to solve strength. Get your implicits, which is additional strikes and pierce and brittle. And then Fortify is only for the Warden. You don't need to get that on champion. Get gem quality, get suppress cap, start getting chaos res. Make sure you stay accuracy capped if you're on Warden, and then get better flasks and tinctures. The high budget POB is like 6 mod items. So if you come to the high budget loadout is like 2120 gems with some awakened gems. And then the gear on the high budget setup is like pretty min-maxed, like 6 mod stuff. It's not perfect gear by any means, but it's very, very good gear. And then in the POB, I'm going to link an ultra high budget POB that is made by Spraz, who's a friend of the stream. So if you're looking for like an ultra high budget end game setup, you can check that one out to see how you can really push the build if you're a trade league juicer. So here's a Bonechill and Brittle demonstration I'm going to do real quick. I get a lot of questions about how this works. So I'm going to show you really quickly how to properly play the build with Bonechill and Brittle, because these are big components of your damage on the pure cold version. So this is my Trickster, but the Brittle and Bonechill are going to work exactly the same way. So you're going to use Bonechill on your Frost Blink. And when you use Frost Blink, it puts down these chilled areas, right? And that's how you get increased damage from Bonechill. And then Brittle from the boots drops on the ground when you walk like this. And so when you're fighting a single target, it also gets dropped from Whirling Blades. I'm not sure if Leap Slam drops it, actually. That's something I didn't test. But when you're fighting something, you need to be applying the Brittle on the ground and then Frost Blinking on top of it at the same time so that you have both of these ground effects up. And then Frost Bomb too if you're using it. So that's how those things work. Make sure that you're properly positioning yourself and putting down the Brittle and putting down the Frost Blink often. Frost Blink is an instant cast, so you don't lose damage using it, so just use it whenever it's up to keep your damage up. So that's how that works. Pause and read this about additional strikes and pierce. Additional strikes and pierce are like critical for the build for offense and defense. So this is how you freeze the whole screen. So make sure you get additional strikes and pierce. You can get one on the tree at first, and then a second one from gloves, and then eventually you're going to have two on your gloves to save points on the tree. So make sure you get those. The notes section in the POB. If you come here to the notes, there's more details here. I might add some more stuff to this and update this video later on in the week, but for now there's a list of some stuff in here like how to get ailment immunity and some other important stuff to look at. So come check out the notes. And I think that's it. That's good enough for this one. Thanks for watching. Good luck in 326. Tell me what below you're going to play, Champion or Warden. Like and subscribe. And stay tuned for build updates. We're going to go into like what merc setups, mercenary setups are the most powerful and what support items that we want to use and all that kind of stuff. And I'll do some build update videos, so stay tuned for those. Follow the stream at twitch.tv/ZishPOE. And thanks a lot for watching. See you next time. Have fun in 326.